Right, my name is Elton Bob. Now you can get interactive with us on our social media handles. You can follow the show with your comments, questions on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, formerly Twitter, and of course on myjoyonline.com. Let's start from the court because the Supreme Court has deferred its decision in an injunction application filed by Richard Delasky and Dr. Amanda Odo seeking to bar Parliament from transmitting the anti-gay bill to the presidency or to President Akufo-Addo for his assent. The five-member Supreme Panel chaired by the Chief Justice in deferring its ruling indicated it will give the decision in the injunction application and the substantive application together in an expedited trial. Head of our Legal Affairs Desk, Richard Kojo, was in court and joins me in studio with details on how it went down at the Supreme Court. So, Kojo, so basically today was to rule on the injunction application and to say that don't transmit the bill to the president.
So it was to indicate whether or not Parliament has the capacity to transmit this bill, which it has already finished working on, to the presidency or to President Akufo-Addo for his assent. So the last time we went to court, you know that two individuals, Richard Delasky, a lawyer and broadcast journalist, plus researcher Dr. Amanda Odo from the University of Cape Coast, they went to the Supreme Court seeking or praying to the Supreme Court to grant them an injunction so that it will bar Parliament, tie Parliament's hands from transmitting this bill, to that their main issue was that certain constitutional breaches were occasioned and Parliament should not even have entertained the bill in the first place because it infringes on Article 108, which states that whenever there is a bill that will be tabled before Parliament and it has a border or it has repercussion on our public purse, then it should emanate from the presidency and not from a private member. But so in this very case, it was a private member's bill, and so the Attorney General, for instance, indicated that why did Parliament not conduct any research, knowing very well that this bill will not stand the test of time, and so they were even rather shooting the legs of the entire bill so that it won't be transmitted to the presidency. And so today when we went, the court was invited to answer the question whether it will indeed grant that application that was filed by the two, but they said that they are deferring their ruling, and the reason they gave was that, in fact, some of the reliefs that were being sought in the substantive application, we have same relief or similar reliefs in the interlocutory injunction that has been filed. And so, should they go on, it will not serve the ends of justice. Let's listen to the Chief Justice get you to
right.
Substantive suit together, enabling this court to deliver a more informed, comprehensive, and just decision that accounts for all relevant circumstances and factors in this important matter. Such a unified approach will further provide context and clarity, and also afford a clearer understanding of the issues raised in this interlocutory matter and their impact on the main suit. Having therefore diligently analyzed all the material processes on the record in this instant application and listened to oral submissions by learned counsel for the parties, our decision is to reserve our verdict on the interlocutory application until the final determination of the substantive suit, at which point we will render a comprehensive judgment that addresses all aspects of the case, including the current application for injunction. In conclusion, the decision of this court on this application for an interlocutory injunction is hereby deferred to abide the outcome of the determination of the substantive suit.
My Lord, we are grateful. Lady, I believe that is fair and equitable, and we cannot but say we are grateful. My Lord, we are also grateful.
So there was the Chief Justice delivering her ruling on behalf of the panel. So what does this mean? I didn't hear her say that we are dismissing it or we are placing an injunction on the transmitter of the bill from Parliament House to the presidency. So the space has been created. I mean, depending on how you want to interpret the court decision. But what exactly is the import of what the court did today?
So the import is that there is still an application pending that has not been determined. And so until that application is determined, and now together with the substantive application that is currently before court, so we are going to have a composite determination of this case so that they will factor the decision they would have given in this interim injunction to the substantive rate that is also currently before Parliament. So what this means is that the Parliament, the Parliament of Ghana can still not transmit the bill to the President for his assent because there is an application that has not been determined. But
the application was seeking an injunction. I didn't hear direct pronouncement on that.
Yes, so you didn't hear the direct pronouncement on that because it was deferred. They have their ruling. But until their ruling is made clear to the general public, then it means that the thing is somewhat like held in abeyance. It's just like when they had filed the application and the court had not been invited to give a decision on it. And so Parliament, as we speak now, cannot do that. So let's listen. We spoke with the Attorney General, who believes that the injunction application that was filed still holds, and they are waiting. But now it's left with some processes they would have to file, and we do not even know the dates where this substantive application, knowing very well that there is a legal vacation around. Right. But all of them do have processes to file until the commencement of substantive rates.
That the court things can be better dealt with in a substantive action. And it's permissible for a court to do that. There's nothing unusual at all. The court actually referred to an existing rule on injunctions. And so that, I think that the court is fair in coming by that approach. I mean, if at this stage the process have not been transmitted, and there must be a reason for that. The reason is that there was this application for interlocutory injunction pending, and the court has still not disposed of the application for interlocutory injunction. The court said the determination of that application for interlocutory injunction should abide the determination of the main case, and for that matter, it is reserving its determination until the main action is heard. It tells you that the application for interlocutory injunction is still pending, has not been disposed of, and so I think that would be the proper course to take. I still have to file my processes, and that will be the first point for me to take. So it's a matter of complying with the rules of court. I have to comply with the rules of court first before you think about an expeditious hearing. So the question of expeditious hearing of the main case does not arise at this stage until all processes have been filed and the parties are ready to move forward. You heard counsel for the first defendant even talking about an application for consolidation that has to be made, and that has not been done. So I do not think that there's a need for us to be consider the question whether.
For the injunction application, it appeared as though the AG's office did not have a position as to whether it should be injuncted or not. We were concerned about certain questions of laws being answered. Is that the same approach for the substantive case? I
think that's the main issue. I mean, the point is that the country ought to know that we're a country governed by a constitution. The constitution that prevails over everyone. We're all under the constitution and the laws of Ghana. And therefore, the actions of every person must be determined within the premises of the law. Same as a person can even question my constitutional right to prosecute in this country. We have seen that many times. Citizens of the country even file applications, the Supreme Court questioning the Attorney General's power to enter another prosecute in a certain matter and that kind of thing. And it comes up for determination in the Supreme Court. It's the same way that a decision or an action taken by Parliament can be questioned by citizens of the country. And so for me, the questions are raised during the hearing of the application for interlocutory injunction were ones that for me have not been determined in this country, and today it has not been determined. It's the very first time that a private member's bill is, or issues regarding private member's bill are coming up for determination. Because private member's bill are quite novel. It occurred only in the time of the former parliament, the 7th parliament, headed by Speaker Professor Michael Quay. It was in his time. Of course, it was with my help as Deputy Attorney General that we all sat down, we had a roundtable conference, and then we sat down to craft ways of empowering Parliament to engender or produce its own bills. And it was in the time of the last Parliament headed by Professor Quay that the first private member's bill was passed. And really was without controversy because it did not have any implications for the taxpayer. Now, there are a lot of bills being churned through Parliament now on account of private members, which really have implications for the public purse. And I think for me, as the Attorney General of the Republic, is a question of important consideration that the court ought to really consider. Because since 1957, as I indicated to the court, since 1957, every constitution the country has had, apart from the 1961, has had provisions on Article 108, provisions akin to Article 108 in it. And there has not been any case at all filed questioning the circumstances, the ambit, or the extent to which a person can commence a bill which has implications for the taxpayer, but which do not go through the requirement of Article 108. So I think the court ought to consider such a question. And as I indicated, is a case where every person in the country ought to know that his action ought to be in accordance with the Constitution, and we all live under the Constitution of the country. And that's a country that we all seek to build. It must be in accord with fairness, and that's why we say it's a country governed by freedom and the rights of people and all that.
Right, so we are still analyzing what happened in court today. That was the Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah-Dame. You also got reaction from some of the lawyers?
Yes, so there were two. I mean, so you know that two applicants went to court. So one was Dr. Nesiawakon, and he was the lawyer for Dr. Amanda Odoi, and then Pakwesi Abedu was the lawyer for Richard Delaskai. And so after the proceedings had ended, we engaged Pakwesi Abedu, and who indicated that they were really happy because they also now have processes to file, and so they are at the feet of the court. Whatever directions the court is given, they will abide by them.
When an application is before court and it has not been determined, although it has not expressly been stated granted or not granted, but once it is pending, you don't do anything to prejudice the outcome of the application. So we say that invariably, indirectly, it is still restraining any party from doing anything contrary to the demands of the application. Can't do it insofar as this matter is pending, otherwise it will amount to contempt of court, to the best of our understanding of the law. When the court speaks about an early trial, in effect what it means is that it will speed up the process towards the determination of the matter, so that this whole issue of injunction before final determination will no longer take a center stage. As an officer of the court, I am not in the least in the position to dictate the timetable of the court. But the farthest I can say is that pleadings have not closed in the matter. As you might have rightly heard from the Attorney General, they are yet to file their response. And I believe counsel for the first defendant is also yet to file. So until those processes are filed, nobody can tell when we'll be giving date for our next appearance.
What do you make of the point for us?
We have always maintained that our pleading in one trajectory is different from that of the first defendant, but our case subsumes the case of the first defendant. So determining the two together will not spoil anything.
Right, so let me wrap up with Rachel Kwadwo who was in court with us today. So, Tadio Sori represents the Speaker of Parliament in this case. Did you get a response from him? Well,
so he usually will not give you a response outside of the court, but he also indicated that they were grateful and the necessary processes would be filed. So now all eyes are on the substantive matter. But as we speak now, we do not know when the substantive matter, because pleadings have not closed. They are still filing their processes and all of that. And we know that the legal vacation is there. So if you look at what has transpired so far, you cannot really give a definite period unless they go into their closet and then agree that this is the day that the Supreme Court has set. So we believe that the case will be listed by the Supreme Court, and that is when we will know when exactly this case will come back.
Because I heard the Chief Justice say that this case will be taken to early trial or speedy trial. It means that they are ready to proceed.
Exactly.
And that will depend on what? Exactly,
to ensure all fairness, because this application has not been determined. It should have been determined, and that is why she speaks of the ends of justice being served, so that if this one, a decision was not given, and they have to wait for the substantive matter, then it means that they need to hurry up, put a lot of things, expedited trial and an early trial, as a matter of fact, so that they can come into an early conclusion of this matter or determination of this matter, so that all parties will be satisfied with the proceedings.
And there's also no indication if special dispensation will be given to this case, because the court itself is about to embark on legal vacation?
Well, so we put that question to the Attorney General that, well, now that legal vacation is on the corner, then it means that the period will extend further. Said, well, these are court processes. And so we were asking whether a special dispensation will be made so that this case will be given a particular attention. But I think we didn't really get an answer whether an expedited kind of application will be made. Exactly.
It is important because, you know, this particular bill has a life of its own. And the life of this bill can come to an end at the expiration of this particular parliament. So if this 8th parliament expires and the court hasn't taken a decision on this bill, everything parliament has done will come to a naught.
So you remember that the last time that we were in court, the Attorney General made this point that once this bill is allowed to be transmitted to the president for his assent or otherwise, it means that it cannot come back to the court for any adjudication. Right. In fact, it was a bit surprising to people that do not know the process, but he says that it cannot come back to the court to cure the defect. So his argument was that the defects and the breaches that have been spotted, they need to be cured at the very, very stage where Parliament is here to transmit the bill. And so once they have cited constitutional breaches, you heard them talk about Article 108, that any bill that is sponsored to Parliament and it has some implications on the finances of the country, then it means that it should emanate from the presidency. Yes. But this time, it is not emanating from the presidency, but private members. You know that this issue about private members, it surfaced in court during the last parliament, the 7th parliament, but that one did not have financial implication on our pairs. And so that is why we didn't really hear about the hullabaloo about this one. But this one, because it is a border on the consolidated fund, that is why it has become an issue. Right.
Kojo, thank you so much for it. We're keeping an eye on this matter. As we speak right now, even though Parliament has passed the anti-LGBTQ bill, the bill is still sitting in the office of the clerk to Parliament because there's a legal challenge. The clerk cannot transmit the bill from Parliament to President Akufo-Addo for his assent because the court will have to make a determination whether or not Parliament breached certain, aspects of the Constitution when they consider this private members' motion, or whether or not they operated within the confines of the law. That is the determination the court must come to before we will know the next stage of this. We're keeping an eye on this matter, bring development on this. But let me move away from the court because it's been revealed that there is heightened dissatisfaction among the youth in Africa in democratic governance. These findings from the latest Afrobarometer report further shows that the youth have been left at the bottom when it comes to decision-making in governance, stirring the agitations that we've seen in recent time. A recent development led to public uproar of Generation Zs in Kenya who took to the streets to demand inclusive governance. Director of Survey at Afrobarometer, Boniface Dulani, who made this observation, however, said pragmatic measures should be implemented to avert Kenya-like situation in Ghana because there is a dip in its democratic scorecard.
It's true that the youth, I think, are more dissatisfied with the democracy, and they also are more inclined to support authoritarian forms of government, especially military rule. I think part of the problem here and the challenge, especially for the youth, is that when you also ask our respondents, what are the most important things that they want the governments to be addressing? And unemployment is, I think, a big problem, and especially for the youth. So they are looking at alternative forms of government that can help to deliver on their needs and especially on creation of jobs.
Right. So is it the case that, per your report, the governments are not doing enough to address these challenges, a reason they seem not to have any hope for their countries?
It is a part of the problem. It's one, I would say, of many problems. Of course, the youth are looking at a lot of things in terms of government service delivery, including, I think, less corruption. They also feel that the politicians are not delivering on their needs, as already highlighted. So the youth are looking at representatives so that they can best represent them. And when you see from the results, one of the challenges that the youth are highlighting is the fact, not just the youth, but most Africans, is that the elected leaders are not doing a good job to advance their own interests. So there is a disconnect between what the people want and what the governments are prioritizing.
So is the African situation a reflection of what happened in Kenya, where the Generation Z had to flood the street to demand inclusive governance?
Of course. I mean, if you see that the governments are not, and government and elected leaders are not representing your interests, the next step is that the people take it upon themselves to make sure that they go to government and that the government should hear from them directly rather than our elected representatives.
Let's look at specifically to the countries. You made mention that some countries are seeing a dip in democratic scorecards, specifically Ghana. Tell us what the situation actually is on the ground.
Well, of course, I mean, this is a very big continent, so as the report highlights, there are differences from country to country. Some of the countries like Ghana, we've seen a huge drop in satisfaction with democracy. And I think the reasons, as we know many of them, the economic situation in Ghana in recent years has not been particularly great. The youth have, as I've already said, like their colleagues elsewhere, are not happy with the amount of jobs that are being created. So most youth are going to attend higher education, and then when they complete higher education, you find that there are no jobs to absorb them. But they are also really disillusioned by the high levels of corruption. So on one hand, governments are telling the people that, look, brace up for these tough times, but then they look at the political leaders are not themselves really demonstrating that they too want to live that kind of life that they are also sacrificing.
So what should be done immediately?
I think it is important that governments really listen to the voices of the people, and that's what Afrobarometer is trying to do, to make sure that the voices of ordinary citizens are heard. Because if governments don't listen to the people, then either the next thing is that the people will vote out the governments, or as we've seen, I think people will be looking at alternative forms of government. What I think the report highlights is that while people remain committed to democracy, they are not happy with the democracy that is on offer. And these two sides, right now, I think we're saying that support for democracy is holding steady. But as more time passes with the disillusionment with the democracy, then more and more people will get disillusioned with the democracy itself, and then they will start to look at alternative forms of government.
Now, we'll see a little longer on this matter because Dr. Chifundo Kachali, the immediate past electoral commissioner for Malawi, warns that the findings from the report should not be taken lightly and advise the Electoral Commission of Ghana to be more transparent in its operations to prevent suspicions going into the December 7 general elections.
Well, I do believe that, speaking for our Malawi Electoral Commission, we did have a very strong civic and voter education mandate, and we took full advantage of that to make sure that we engage the youth. So we undertook some public lectures on different institutions like university lectures and also in other public squares to ensure that we can create a platform where the youth are actively engaged and their issues are vented out, but also where they're given an understanding of why their civic agency is very critical to ensuring that they remain engaged in the political processes, because I think the tendency for the youth is to adopt a protest approach when they're disgruntled, instead of making sure that they're getting integrated into the political structures where they can push forward their own candidates who pursue their agenda, and that they should recognize that because of the demographics, I don't know, Ghana may not be different to Malawi, for example, where the numbers for the youth are very high. And that means that if they mobilize well and support a certain platform, they do have a very strong opportunity and agency to actually reform and transform the political landscape. So we have an experience where we believe that engagement with the youth to just highlight the different opportunities they have to make a difference in the political landscape is more instrumental proactively, instead of waiting for things to go wrong and then they come at the end and start protesting.
In the wake of this, Ghana has 5 months to the elections. You have been in that hot seat before. You have just ended your tenure in Malawi. What is your advice to your counterparts in Ghana so far as these public sentiments are concerned going into the elections?
I think as election management body, it's always important to remember that credibility credibility is very important. So everything you can do to ensure that you create a level of confidence in the stakeholders about the integrity of the processes that you're managing can never be underestimated. And one of the ways to do that really is just being transparent and open about everything you're doing. Sharing information, and people should be aware of what's going on and why things are happening a certain way, removes suspicion, because where there's too much suspicion, it gives rise to a lot of conspiracy theories. Where there's transparency and accountability, people have information to actually make informed decisions.
Right, so this is a pause here on Joy. Now let me take you to the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, where President Akufo-Addo is continuing his tour of the region. He's commissioning some hospital projects in the region. Let's listen in now.
You see in that no, na yede yama formanaf group. And they are hospital buy no, more demand and supply. Demand no high. It ye best say mobile ye transformer no for frama hospital no. Problem omdi too many pa no. Kasie pa no. It ye no mampani wa ha. Na ye MP wa ha. Na ye DC wa ha dia. Na ye chese ye wi kula. Iti wodi yesremo se transformer no monhwe na monmaye transformer ebetumi a supply bibia na the road system no yenim se year of rose Ghana had ye bia anya bi year of rose na de yesrene se ye wo kwan ba akopɛ efiri oboase eba boase nkwanta Asokwa junction eji efua ya besi kwabrakwa akabe 4 kilometers 4 kilometers kwa minyini se ebedu eti eno de Asokwa DC MP owa Asokwa na omampani wa haide ye besre se ekwan no momfanto homayen na formula de me ba ye 2014 yesi ya ye formula kwa nyina yesi ya ye overhead nyina overhead ti ye wa ha na piak fo ba se o mo ba be hwe se ekwan no yesi ya ye no ani overhead na ya ye no ye ni ye ana se ya anye ni ye o mo ba ye nso no ye kire won se abi anye formula we ya ko formula ba ko wo Cape Coast. Ya do nko gina abonten no. Ya hunu kwan bia ya no formula. Ya hunu overhead bia. This was 2014. Na me ba ya nchele. Eti yesre se e bia monkrata mu de. Munim se ya ye formula kwan nyina. Enso obi a me ye formula kwan. Eti year of rose no. Ya wesre president answer na abeko no. Yesre wo se your road system, internal road system. Any Asokwa de ya makan. Ana anomabo sa ye ufre Asokwa wo konkran ya ka wo fa anomabo a na kofodu ani na nkran ya ni. Bridge ba ko bi wo hono mo a asai fritete. Ti yesre se river num hono bridge no a separate adanse any eastern region no. Ye besre se mo betumi ayama we de mo yama nya danse nko a asante ne achim na mo yama yen enti no ye besre se me de ma no sie no na me bo hoye sa bridge no ye besre se obetumi ahwe aye aman ne a ye beda wasipi
Monica sa wanu hwam you read that se pato mo esem.
So those are live pictures from Fomena in the Ashanti region where President Akufo-Addo is touring, and he's expected to commission some hospitals in the Fomena and of course the Kumau township, different towns in the region. And when the president is about to address the gathering, we'll bring that to you live from Fomena in the Ashanti region. This is part of the tour of the president in the Ashanti region. So we'll take you back to the community where the health minister, the other ministers accompanying the president will in turn speak before we have the president speak to the gathering. The health minister is addressing the gathering and we can listen in.
And also would like to thank the Almighty for the precious gift of President Akufo-Addo in our lifetime. Mr. President, Ghana signed a contract with Messrs NMS Infrastructure on the 19th of November 2012 for the design, construction, and equipping of 7 health facilities and the provision of an integrated IT system. The locations chosen included Dodowa, Formina, Komewu, Garu, Sekendi, Abetifi, and Takrady at a project cost of $175 million. Mr. President, it is refreshing to mention that these projects experienced some headwinds between 2012 and 2015. But under your leadership, your government worked hard to make sure that the necessary resources are found to complete the projects. This hospital is equipped with state-of-the-art medical equipment and specialized departments designed to provide comprehensive primary health care. The hospital has 120 beds and offers a wide range of services, including outpatient services, inpatient services, that's medical and surgical, pharmacy, accident and emergency diagnostics, that's imaging and lab services, 2 theaters, surgical theaters, an obstetrics and gynae private room, traditional stroke alternative medicine department, a public health department, medical administration, catering, laundry, and sterilization facilities. It's refreshing to mention that this hospital also has 25 accommodation units for staff of the hospital. Your Excellency, in addition to this facility, many more facilities have been completed or are being worked on by your government in the Ashanti region specifically. Mr. President, the Kofanoche and Teaching Hospital Maternity and Children's Block is ongoing with a bed capacity of 507 when completed. Your Excellency, the Ashanti Regional Hospital at Sewia, a 250-bed facility, is just in the process of being operationalized. The Ghana Health Service is working with partners to make sure that the facility is operationalized so that that also can be inaugurated. Your Excellency, we have other facilities such as the construction of the trauma hospital in Obuasi. We also have the Asante Achi Municipal Hospital in Konogo, which is completed and is currently in use. Mr. President, we also have a 120-bed facility at Kumewu, which your good self will be inaugurating this afternoon as well. Your Excellency, Bekwai has also had their municipal hospital completed under your regime and is in use. Tepa has a 60-bed facility. Sabronum also has a 40-bed facility, which is completed and is about to be operationalized. Suame, Mr. President, has a 40-bed facility that will be operationalized very soon. Drobonsu also has a 40-bed facility. Mr. President, I'm also excited to mention that the military hospital at Afari, which has 500 beds, 500-bed capacity, is also ongoing and by the grace of God will be commissioned and operationalized this year. Your Excellency, I'd like to specially acknowledge Dr. Kunedu Abinayosin, who is the medical soup of this beautiful facility. Mr. President, many actors under your leadership have worked hard to make this hospital possible. And I'd like to especially acknowledge my predecessor, Honorable Kuku Achimameno, Dr. Nsia Sari, former finance minister, Mr. Ken Ofoyata. I'd also like to acknowledge the MP for this community, Honorable Isiama, who presided over the sitting that approved the loan facility that made it possible to complete this particular hospital. Mr. President, last but not the least, much gratitude to you, your modest self, under whose auspices and direction all these facilities, which were at an average of 30%. Mr. President, by January 2017, when you were sworn in, all these facilities under this NMS project were at an average level of 20% completion. You didn't abandon them. You worked hard to make sure that they see the light of day, and that is worth mentioning. Your Excellency, by January 2025, where by the grace of God you'll be handing over power, Mr. President, the Ashanti region is expected to have about 2,000 beds added to their health infrastructure capacity. Mr. President, if you add those on Agenda 111 list for the Ashanti region, you are looking at close to 3,000 beds addition within an 8-year period. Mr. President, certainly history will remember you not only as the education president, but also as the health president. I'd like to conclude by thanking the good people of Adansi North for all their collaboration, cooperation, and support. I'd also like to thank again the MP for this community for all his support. I'd like to thank the MedSoup for this facility, Dr. Abina Yosin and his staff for all the hard work. And finally, I also like to thank Dr. Kuma Bwaji and his team in Ashanti region for all the work in operationalizing this hospital. Thank you very much, and may God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Yada Health Minister Ase Sabri Akuska.
So next to speak, obviously, will be President Akufo-Addo. This is one of the Agenda 111 projects that government started, and the hope is that it will help address the health needs of residents within the enclave of Fomena. And when he's done, he will move on to Kumau to also commission another one. As we heard the health minister, we are waiting to hear the President Akufo-Addo speak to the community, and then the official, commission will be done, and then it will go a long way to help the community. This are live pictures coming to you from Fomena in the Ashanti region. President Akufo-Addo is on tour. He started this tour some 2 days ago, where he inspected works at the Swami Interchange and some road projects in the region. Today, the focus is on hospitals, and he is currently at Fomena in the Ashanti region. From there on, they will move to Kumawu. Very soon we'll hear the President speak, but we can listen in to the appellation ahead of the speech by the President.
Oh yeah, dear, yes, yeah, dear, yes, mention na abudani ado dankwa Akufo-Addo. A dance minda wasia bro, a Santa minda wasiansa. Ghana minda wasia wakudonto. Nana, yes, west, enka yenshia wanka yenkoto je eka yankoko. Sukonko. Yenshia wanke didiye boyen achem kwana na wunum bremu oyoko deshe konkura sansa wafa dia wode chira wafanso ofani bom adanse manse amanyo ko bi etwemu so de aso ebo foma dese ye twen ema enwaw etumrika ansa Anna wabeye nanso wasi adia yo adudi adu showboy adu preman nana ado dankwa Akufo-Addo de wasi oyo waye bida waria kwakono ase yenso wabari chiremre kukua chinjifo ne hwan ware kwato ase yenso wabere kura hwan ni chinjifo nana ado dankwa Akufo-Addo oya washa body bosha so ono na washa yambose obema ya 1 district 1 factory 1 constituency 1 ambulance obema ya online passport application paperless pulse and so wow wa ye bianca Agenda 111 oguso ye wadom ye zongo development fund and then jesem ya wabofra to wa inge ya bema ne Ghana card nana ado dankwa Akufo-Addo wa ye bianca sa edrumrebi national health insurance nanka yamfa nyashe nanso nana ado dankwa Akufo-Addo ba ya no national health insurance eye ejuma na ni jesem ne se ado be menyansa ni nyansa bisa kwanta bisa nyansa bu akwa nyansa bu nkama kenta no so nana wo si prekete brekase she eno so national health insurance wunne na wo renew ene ebeye ejuma ene nana ado dankwa Akufo-Addo waye bianca say 60 state houses who say si judges adanya hodo ama judges baby de wonti ato nana yenya wudeni nana wo yebue nana wanim ne wachi obi ani ho wo Jamufua ankasa nana obeyanka edum amagana mai frisa wasaso padie ebini baby adanse mai say aku eya wose kakra bi na waye bra ya kwan de nanado edrumre bi nanka adanse mai baby wo ho a ade aye frane asphalt kra nanka enima de kro nanso nanado danko akufu adobaye ekwan na da sojo ekojo nanado danko akufu ado free kusa eko pendichie nana waye me besaye me so anabo this yi erikusi asese ena de adanse wo ba ye mfati paye duro eni sisi yade anka ho free se nanado waye akwan ni nyina uni sisi yade atonkwanta wapai every se waye chiaboso ekwa akopem akrokere anso ho a waye kwa apia akwa akosi baby bebre wioso anso ho a waye sodua akwa akosi bena anso wa omsana na woma musu afadompu ase ofadompu ase afa hensan wodura hensan ya na wadura ajokwai na waye ho nyina omsa afa bobrase ofa bobrase wia no afa nyina brem ofa nyina brem ho wia na wakodagen ehwo na obehu sampa wadagen adanse man ho na ado dankwa ekufo ado eba schools a ebinom say na ado ye free SHS nanso adan ben na wasisi nana omose nimdie nanso wodie wageneka agene ne kleke woni animdifo woya womanimfo enu nti school pa wontu na jeje mu ubora bobrase dagen chechirewre anso hwa ubora wioso ubora medoma wasisi 6 unit classrooms nyina wo baabi amabobodo eba police station so a medoma wa mayebi akrokeri wa mayebi nana mo abru mo so ubora asaribedi akon senior high school a asaribedi akon for say wa mawomo 400 bed capacity of boys dormitory and so what's our 600 bed capacity of girls dormitory and so nana adunyanseni ubarati I for mena amasa almost say wama 450 boys dormitory nana waye biankasa eho ena ko kare college education se share Bora yanso yaho nana do danko akufuado wama ye 600 bed hall ewa akokeri college education nana ado almost enka akokeri enka neno aye teacher training allowances mu no mu beso akwantin fi nanso nana ado enne omo from mu say graduate papa bia na ya wadama restoration of teacher training allowances na wode ba ye no ana nursing training allowances abanda de chemu no wa restore nana wa ye biankasa adanse mind ye say senka yo wabani edechawa enka trinsa ye free akwa homa boy ye free sa wa ye bi dia kra wanimba ye kra wa biri.
Right, so we're still waiting to hear from President Akufo-Addo about to speak at this commission of a hospital facility at Fomena in the Ashanti region. Remember that we are also heavy on health this afternoon because Ghana Health Service is intensifying medical training about this, this mosquito that is becoming an issue. There's been reported cases in the central region, in the eastern region. And what we are learning is that if you go to any health facility in the Greater Accra region, they will take time to test you on this dengue virus. And of course, we'll do that. So we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll take you live to Fomena in the Ashanti to hear President Akufo-Addo on the new hospitals. This is the pause. We are back in Fomena to hear the President speak.
Metropolitan Chief Executive of Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, District Chief Executive of Fomena District Assembly, and other MMDCs, Director General of the Ghana Health Service, the contractors, and consultants, Onsra Free the second, Adansehine, Nana Amwenima Dede the second, Adansehima, Okofo Kwabna Bunsu the first, Dompoasehe, Ashanti MPP Regional Chairman, the Deputy General Secretary of the ruling New Patriotic Party, residents of Fomena, fellow Ghanaians, ladies and gentlemen. And I say, the Bible said, no one will cry, Nakasa me Bible came, Makan Wopotum. Beso Bia or Ghana, Etifri me and Casamanum, they make the only tree, need your tree now. The Bible said, Mamma me cry, it's over Mamma cry. Onana me, yet I see if you are and you could pray at him home. If you are dancing and you could pray at him home, yeah, you come home. Today is a memorable day in the history of access to healthcare services in our nation. As we gather to inaugurate the Adansi North District Hospital, I stand before you to reaffirm my government's unwavering commitment to completing critical projects, regardless of which administration initiated them, to enhance the quality of life for our people through superior healthcare services. The completion of the Adansi North District Hospital is a testament to our dedication to providing state-of-the-art health facilities in line with current healthcare standards across the nation. The funding of $175 million United States dollars for 6 hospital projects and 1 accommodation unit was secured from the United Kingdom Export Financing UKEF in 2012. When my government assumed office in 2017, only 1 facility at Dodua had been completed, with the others at various stages of completion. With a remaining balance of $38.8 million United States dollars, my government has since completed 3 health-related facilities in Kumawu, in Fomena, and Takrady during my tenure as President of the Republic. This hospital is part of a broader agenda to complete numerous healthcare projects. Upcoming hospitals set for commissioning include A, 5 health facilities in Ilubu, Bogoso, Impoho, Nswayem, and Wansa Dunkwa in the Western region. B, upgrading of 1 public health facility in Akontombra in the Western North region. And C, the new Ashanti Regional Hospital at Seria. By the end of 2024, we'll also complete several significant projects, including the Urology and Nephrology Center of Excellence at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the construction of 11 district hospitals and 1 polyclinic in the Ashanti, Eastern, Greater Accra, and Ahafu regions, and various treatment and holding centers. These efforts align with our commitment to achieving universal health coverage, guarantee improved and more efficient healthcare services for all Ghanaians. Furthermore, government's determination to improving our healthcare delivery system is evident in the Agenda 111 initiative, which is providing 101 standard 100-bed district hospitals with accommodation for doctors and nurses in districts without district hospitals, 6 new regional hospitals for each of the 6 new regions, rehabilitating the Efian Kwanta Hospital in the Western region, building 1 new regional hospital for the Western region, and 2 psychiatric hospitals for 2 of the 3 zones of the country, i.e. the middle and north. The entire package at an estimated cost of $1.76 billion United States dollars. 19 of these hospitals are being constructed in the Ashanti region. Thus far, construction of 86 district hospitals, 2 regional psychiatric hospitals, and the Western Regional Hospital are ongoing, which are at various stages of completion. The average completion rate of the 89 ongoing projects is 65%, with work at some of the sites being 70 to 80% complete. It is worthy to note that the constructions of these hospitals are being undertaken by indigenous Ghanaian contractors who have provided direct and indirect jobs to many Ghanaians. There's an average number of 120 workers on each construction site, and when completed, an average of 549 persons will be employed in a district hospital, 1,343 in a regional hospital, and 947 in each psychiatric hospital. This means that 67,635 people will be employed in the Agenda 111 hospitals. Ladies and gentlemen, Nananum, let me take this opportunity to assure you that the trust you have placed in my government will not be in vain. We've made substantial investments in the health sector to complete as many infrastructure projects as possible for the benefit of all Ghanaians. Today, you witness the completion of major projects on schedule. The Formina Hospital exemplifies the responsible use of taxpayers' money. We're committed to expanding and improving primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare facilities nationwide. This includes renovating existing facilities, constructing new ones in underserved areas, and investing in advanced equipment to enhance access and quality of care. It is crucial to highlight the investments made in enhancing emergency care infrastructure, logistics, and supplies. These are essential to prepare us against local and global health threats. We've learned valuable lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic, and today we've established treatment and holding centers in Dodoa, Cape Coast, Adaklu, Seria, Kumasi South, Aflao, Elubo, and Kita to boost our emergency preparedness. Additionally, Phase 2 of the Greater Accra Regional Medical Stores for Ghana Health Services has been completed. We're also progressing towards establishing the Ghana Center for Disease Control by the end of 2024. Fellow Ghanaians, our healthcare sector has made significant strides. Our accomplishments are clear. Antenatal care average, ANC 4+, is at an impressive 85%. Skilled birth attendance stands at 64%, and 95.95% of our children are fully immunized by age 1. These achievements demonstrate our commitment to improving healthcare quality and accessibility. However, we must not rest on our oars. It is essential to continue our efforts to complete ongoing projects and meet the pressing healthcare needs of my fellow Ghanaians. The Formina Hospital is designed with several departments, including administration, outpatient and emergency services, inpatient wards, obstetrics and gynecology, surgery, physiotherapy, pharmacy, diagnostic services, logistics buildings, and staff facilities. This comprehensive facility reflects our unwavering dedication. It is a fully equipped turnkey project featuring modern medical equipment such as stationary and mobile X-ray machines, ultrasound devices, surgical equipment, medical gas supplies, and patient monitors. It is essential to highlight that the credit funds used for constructing the hospital will be repaid by the government. I urge the community to hold healthcare managers accountable for ensuring the facility's proper utilization and timely maintenance, which are vital for sustained healthcare provision. Community support and commitment to the facilities managers are indispensable. This project also includes a 2-year post-completion maintenance and training program. Therefore, I encourage the Ghana Health Service to collaborate closely with the contractor's maintenance team to ensure the hospital's effective upkeep. The contractors, Messrs. NMSI, along with their Ghanaian technical consultants, Engineer Abraham Fisher and Mr. Michael Addo, have done an exemplary job, and I extend my heartfelt thanks to all involved in the project. I task the development agents, chiefs, and local political leadership vested in the district assembly to plan the land use around the hospital effectively to create a modern enclave. There will be a rush for land, but let us not be driven by the lure of money to sell. Let us be driven by the passion to see a well-planned settlement for our children and future generations. Fellow Ghanaians, in conclusion, I want to assure you once again of our vow to delivering on our promises. I'm very grateful to the contractors, the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, Friends of Ghana, funders, and all stakeholders who have contributed resources and worked tirelessly to complete this hospital. And I don't say, O Casarode Nyama Miense be too many. I say, me say me in no, I say me in no chimo. The kind access road to the hospital. Here, Kase, contractor is on site. Already. New Minister for Roads and Highways, they need the hapa on the Yura speaker, I can't want them, I'm a contractor, a baswa, or Babisha Sejumana. I see. Transform and also Minister of Health, or the Ministry of Energy for Edi Hunkuta, Eya Huajuma, Eya Kutahon, Eya Huajuma, Nanche, and also some Obatia Wanka. Now, town roads, ne bridge, no so no. Yeah, me guso. Never money my dear, met me I answer no my call. And we saw the papa or baby di my dear no. And you been meant to me, we already obey, no baby, so you will see, I must say, town roads, no crowd contractor is on site. It's here, Koya Nim, pa. Enkoyachi o afi ebe ye enkoyachi de dada ade ayempa ya to atwene ye confirm babio mo ye confirm babio. Accordingly, ladies and gentlemen, Ananum, it is my singular honor and pleasure to declare the Fomina Hospital duly commissioned. God bless us all. May God bless us.
Right, so that's President Akufo-Addo officially. He's commissioned the Fomina Government Hospital construction started some years back. Now we'll take a short break here on the pod. When we return, we'll tell you about the threat the sea is posing to the Abuaze Power Enclave. Stay right there. We are back on your favorite afternoon show, The Pulse, here on Joy News. Now let me take you to the Western region because the Abuaze Power Enclave responsible for producing 730 megawatts of Ghana's electricity, along with several strategic state installations, is under threat of being consumed by the sea. The Ghana Hydrological Authority would issue the warning, said the devastation will be catastrophic if immediate protective measures are not taken. Adobe Asare was at a news conference and now reports.
The Ghana Hydrological Authority says it has now become urgent for the country to protect the threatened institutions or lose them.
So along our coastal stretch, we have different or varying levels of vulnerability. We have varying levels of vulnerability. So at one end, we are losing as much as 1.3 meter per year to the coast.
They include the St. Augustine's College, the University of Cape Coast, the Cape Coast Nursing and Midwifery College. Also under threat is the Accra, Cape Coast and Cape Coast Takoradi stretch of the N1 highway, all in the central region.
The college is in Cape Coast, and we have on the Cape Coast Takoradi Road very, very much at risk. We have St. Augustine's College. If any of you went to St. Augustine's, I have to pray that we can do this work very quickly. Otherwise, in a couple of years' time, St. Augustine's will disappear from the surface of the earth. We have Cape Coast Central Hospital nearby as well.
In the western region, the Aboise Power Enclave, where the Takoradi Power Plant and the Twin Energy Station are located, will all be affected.
We have a Aboise Enclave where we have a power plant that is at risk. You know, again, the sea is very close to the power plant.
In the Greater Accra region, Dansoman, Ningo Pram, the Denu Aflao Highway, as well as some communities in the Volta region, all face the threat.
So that is Dansoman, and you will see, you know, these are recent photos showing properties being lost. You know, Dansoman particularly, the sea is very close to the road, and if nothing is done shortly, we will lose the road to the sea, along with all the houses sitting next to the road.
Some work is already underway to protect threatened communities, but the Hydrological Authority says the country will have to find $200 million to build coastal defense systems to avert a possible destruction of these communities. Adobia Asari for Joy News, Accra.
Well, let's explore this matter, and the Chief Executive of the Ghana Hydrological Authority, Dr. John Kusi, joins me via Zoom. Dr. Kusi, you're welcome. And this imminent threat, how or what can we do to avert it? And if you can kindly unmute for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on your show. Yes, these are imminent threats. And we often, when we talk about flooding, our focus tends to be on the surface water flooding that we experience from stormwater. And we haven't really paid much attention to tidal flooding and coastal erosion, which also poses significant threats to lives and livelihoods, properties, and strategic national assets. So we are trying to draw attention to these issues that require urgent attention. As we stated at the press conference, we have different degrees of vulnerability. There are certain areas that we need to take, immediate steps, to protect important national assets like the Aboise Power Enclave that we talked about.
So what can be done? I mean, you started from the western region, you came to the central region, and also to the Greater Accra. It appears that our coastal line, everything there appears to be under threat.
That's correct. So we would need to implement coastal protection measures to mitigate, against this coastal erosion and tidal flooding. There's ongoing work, as we have already identified. There are 8 of them ongoing, and at the various levels of completion. We're expecting that by the end of this year, 3 of them will be commissioned. But that protects 80-kilometer stretch. All the works we've done in the past and what we are doing currently protect 80-kilometer stretch. We have 370 kilometer stretch at risk. We've protected 80, leaving 290 currently unprotected. And within that 290 where we have identified those important national assets. We are conscious that we can't do everything, but what we are saying is that these areas of particular interest and particular importance to the country's development, like the Aboise Power Enclave, we need to take immediate steps to protect.
Now, Doctor, is the construction of sea defense the only solution?
No, that is not the only solution. We also have nature-based solutions. The Ghana Hydrological Authority is exploring other, sustainable measures or more sustainable measures like nature-based solutions. Those ones take time to have the impact and the effect that is needed. So, for example, we're doing some work with the World Bank. We're also doing some work with the Dutch Water Board, exploring nature-based solutions. It will take time for those ones to materialize. And if we're going to wait for those ones, some of these strategic assets will be lost to the sea.
So how much of time do we have that if we don't act, the danger ahead of us will visit us?
So if we take a look at the Duaku and Cape Coast, talking about the Accra-Takoradi Road, the sea is very close to the road, and I think that within the next year we should take measures at least to immediately protect that section where the sea is very close to the road. I'm conscious that there's some discussion ongoing, and very soon I'm sure some work will be done in that space. But other places around the Aboise Power Enclave, I think we're talking about months here. Within months that we should take steps to take those protective measures. A place like Nzilebu, where the Navy has recently constructed a forward operating base, significant investment is going in there. The areas around the base are exposed and currently experiencing a very high rate of erosion, and again, immediate steps have to be taken to protect. Otherwise, we'll lose the value of all that investment that's gone into the forward operating base.
Someone is asking, we've lived with the sea for as long as the country or the world has existed. Why should we be so concerned about the sea, taking over property, close to it?
Yes, we are experiencing climate change, even though we probably don't talk much about it. We're experiencing sea level rises. So even when we talk about the 180-kilometer stretch that is not currently at risk, there's an increasing threat because the sea level is rising. Our human activities along the coast is contributing to the rate of erosion. Sand winning activities along the coast, removal of vegetation along the coast exposes the coastline to the tidal effect, and that accelerates the rate of erosion. So yes, we've lived with the sea, but times are changing. Development is happening everywhere, and so we are increasing the risk by our own activities and by the nature itself. Talking about climate change, and that is why we need to pay attention to the increasing risk. It's a risk that is increasing, and it's not going to decrease with climate change. And if you look, go to some areas, for example, communities have been lost to the sea.
Right.
Yes, you talk to people, and they will tell you that my house used to be over there, and they'll be pointing maybe some 10 meters into the sea. So at the rate that some sections of our coastline is eroding, some sections are actually eroding at about a meter per year. And so if you count in 10 years, you lose 10 meters of your land to the sea. It's quite serious, and we really need to take steps. Yes.
And you've made some projections in terms of how much we require to stay afloat, $200 million. Is it to take care of the entire coastline, the 290 kilometers you spoke about?
Not at all, not at all. So, in fact, in the interaction with the press, we have an estimate for the 290-kilometer stretch. We need about $3 billion.
$3 billion.
Now, that's correct. So, you're talking about those important strategic assets that need immediate and urgent attention. That is probably the where that 200 million is coming. But for our entire coastline, we need a lot more than that.
And is government aware? Have you told government about this? And is there a response as to how to progress on this matter?
There's ongoing engagement on this matter. We had our minister, Honorable Kojo Oponkruma, paying a surprise visit to our offices earlier this week, and this formed part of the conversations that we had. And so government is aware, but we need to be conscious of the fact that this is not a challenge that government alone can address.
Right.
And that is why we have also been talking about the National Hydrological Fund, a fund that came to being under the Ghana Hydrological Act, Act 1085. It establishes the fund so that we can have businesses and individuals contributing to solving this national challenge that we have. So, we have, apart from important national assets, we also have businesses operating along the coast.
Right.
And their businesses are at risk as well. Restaurants, hotels, beach resorts, and all of that at risk. And so we are hoping that by, bringing this message out, they would also come to appreciate the need to help, to contribute to addressing this challenge that we have.
Dr. Kisi, finally, before I let you go, this is in a way related, but I'm wondering if you have any role at all to play. Now, in the last few months, the Volta River Authority, they've been consistent in updating the nation on the water level at the Konsombo Dam. And even as we speak today, the level as of today is higher than what it was last year when they spilled the water that caused the destruction. Now, they've been updating every day. I don't know whether you have any relation to do with this, and as we go forward in terms of the spillage they want to undertake, how they want to progress, how they must go about it, so that we avoid the destruction that happened last year.
Yes, you're right. So one aspect of our work is hydrological monitoring of our river bodies. So we have installations along the Volta basin, and we do provide data to the VRA to help them with their own prediction and planning as well. So we do have a role, we do have collaborative work with them, and sometimes we provide advice to them on some of these measures. And when we do also issue our seasonal forecasting, we let them know, roughly how much inflow is to be expected in a year, and that guides them also in their planning.
So spillage is unavoidable, but how should they go about it so that the destruction can be minimized?
Yes, so the best way is to start spilling sooner than later, and that is where the prediction comes in, because it's always a balance between having too much water and having too little water, and so when we use our data that we've obtained over several years to predict how much rain is expected, or how much inflow is expected, it's intended to guide them so that they can initiate the spillage earlier. When it comes to the impact, once spilling begins, then the VRA works closely with NADMO.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. John Kisi is the CEO of the Ghana Hydro Authority. Now, let me take you to Parliament, because the minority NDC say governments must immediately settle about 6 billion cedis it owes several contractors and suppliers in relation to the free senior high school program. According to the group, the suppliers of the tablets for the senior high school students is currently owed in excess of 300 million cedis. Speaking to journalists in Parliament, minority spokesperson on education, Peter Nochukote, warned that several of these businesses would collapse if government reneges on its responsibilities towards them.
I can say that information available to me indicates that over 6 billion is being owed to companies, individuals, and organizations in relation to free senior high school. For instance, this year they launched the tablets for senior high schools. It's a very good program. This is because it's going to reduce the burden on the printing of textbooks. And our children, how they handle textbooks. I mean, every 3 or 4 years we have to replace them. So the idea is fine, and we support it. Even if you look at NDC's manifesto for 2020, it was there. We even added tertiary institutions. So we support the idea, but we should do it at a time where resources are available. You have asked somebody to do this or supply the tablets, but 1.3 million, that is 1,350,000 to cover all students. You are not paying for it. Meanwhile, the man has gone for a loan, and it is at a cost of 337 million Ghana cedis. You have not paid the person. You have paid him less than 10% of the cost. If he had gone for a bank, a guarantee or whatever, how would the person pay? So, as a minority, we are concerned that if we do this, we are killing businesses of individuals and companies in the country. So there's a need for us to intervene on their behalf.
Our government owes WAEC 224 million despite paying some amount for the BEC. With WASI on the horizon, the minority said the amount must be paid immediately.
Government still owes WAEC. You know, as part of the free senior high school policy or program, students are not to pay for WASI. Government pays everything on their behalf. The examination is about to start in August. However, government has not released any money to WAEC. Now, they owe them 2024, they owe them arrears of 2023, and 2024, they have not paid anything. Total of 224 million Ghana cedis. That is what they are owing WAEC. So WAEC is unable to talk again because we had to talk for them before money was released for the BEC. And we shouldn't be going that tangent. Whatever is due to an institution or an agency that is to perform a function on behalf of government must receive resources early enough to plan ahead.
All right, so let me bring in Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwaku Asante. So, Kwaku, I'm wondering, are you taking part in a football match today?
Although I wasn't selected, in fact, Haruna Admisu just took my position as the striker for the members of Parliament, and the game is currently going on. MPs had to take an early shower today in Parliament.
Well, we are having connection issues with Kwaku Asante. Parliament's 11 against former Black Stars 11. That match is ongoing at the Accra Sports Stadium. It's the Democracy Trophy. Kwaku, so you're telling me about the game? Yes, so we're having issues with connection. So it is just part of Ghana celebrating 30 years. Parliament. Yes, Kwaku, please go on.
Yes, the former members of Parliament, the members of Parliament, as you say, have scored just now, and the Black Star former players have also equalized. It's 1-1 in the game that is currently going on in the at the Accra Sports Stadium. Haruna Admisu has been promising in the attack. He has just been taken off for Member of Parliament for the Dio in the person of Neil and Van der Poel to take his position. That game is cagey, and I can tell you that the Black Stars players, the former Black Star players, are having a top to these members of Parliament. Many of them not in good shape, but playing really well in the game that is currently beaming on a number of television stations. Members of Parliament, as part of this Democracy Cup, are playing former Black Stars players before Kotoko and Hart themselves will play at 6 o'clock to the other crowd. And encounter Super Ultra, and I just couldn't make it in the first 11.
But I mean, the Electoral Commission chairperson also took advantage of this game to sort of play a neutral role.
Well, yes, early on, Parliament presented the Democracy Cup to the Electoral Commission. Madame J. Mensah received Parliament on behalf of the Commission. That the 2024 election is going to be free and fair, and urged political parties that will be defeated to accept the results.
Let's talk about what has happened today on the floor beyond the football game.
Well, the major business Parliament undertook today was to deliver a statement on this Democracy Cup. Members of Parliament have been reflecting on 30 years of parliamentary democracy, urging Ghanaians to continuously play their role in ensuring that Ghana's democracy is safeguarded and to ensure that we do not fall in the tower among others. Members of Parliament, before going to the Accra Sports Stadium to play this game, did indulge themselves in this, indicating their readiness to go and play this. So today, Parliament did not do much except to head to the Accra Sports Stadium to play this game.
Okay, thank you so much for this update from the House. Well, that's our show, folks, for today. We have more stories on myjoyonline.com. Stories on myjoyonline.com. We have the Interior Minister. We have the Attorney General responding to the Supreme Court ruling on the anti-gay bill. And of course, so that's our show, folks, for today. It's been exciting always having you here on the Pulse. Tomorrow, same time at 3 p.m., we'll have the Thursday edition of the show. But we have more stories coming up on Joy News Prime, on Top Story and Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. But whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope it's profitable. My name is Elton Bobe. Have a good evening.